The property market recovery. Are you serious? The mortgage cliff is coming. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it this morning, how the property market is recovering.
Good morning.
Good morning, Billy. We're late.
We're late, but we're being positive news. It's not doom and gloom this morning.
It's good news, isn't it? How's your weekend?
Yeah, tops. Yours?
Yeah, good. I heard you watched the Indiana Jones movie. Just came out.
I do recommend. We were saying production's back, and yeah, go check it out, guys. It was my favourite one of the lot.
We got Tom Cruise in town. We got Margot with his premiere. We got Margot Robbie with her premiere. It's all happening.
It's all happening. Let's jump in. I've got some tiles for us this morning.
Got my woggy tie on. Okay, so what do you know, Billy? You know what triggered this today? We had an auction on the weekend. Number 8 Regina in Brookvale. This house is not in an exotic location. It's a nice way of saying it. It's a red bricker. This house was probably 1.8 to 1.9, I reckon, in December.
Crazy.
And I'm not exaggerating. I independently asked our auctioneer, asked other salespeople, and said, where do you reckon this property was sitting in November? And conclusively, everyone said it was about a 1.9. Now, 6 months, 7 months later, almost 8 months later, it's more. It sold at auction at 2.29. Now, I'm reading the market recovery and I'm thinking, you know what? It's true, but I just don't understand it.
Well, we're going to try and help you understand this morning. So I've got a selection of 3 or 4 tiles that will be, I think, interesting to everyone here. This one talks a little bit about that recovery. Home values across the nation continued their recovery in June. New data showing national prices are now just 0.1% lower than they were a year ago. So 0.1% lower than they were a year ago, national.
It's interesting.
Pretty big.
It's interesting because don't forget it's now officially deleted the last 6 months of, like, last year did -20, was down 20%. So a property worth $1 million went down to 800,000 last year. So in that second half, it took a beating for 100 grand, and people are now suggesting that that's back up 100 grand to meet that data that you're talking about. So it sort of doesn't make sense when you've had 12 interest rate rises. We've got the Reserve Bank meeting tomorrow, but you've got interest rate rises. You've got a mortgage cliff that people are falling off because they're coming off their fixed rates. Yet the property market's doing better than last year, not worse.
And I think we'll get to the reasons why in a moment when I bring up the snapshot. But to finish this tile here, it just goes on to say, while prices across combined capital cities are now higher, than at the same time last year. But as for Sydney, the recovery just for June was 0.6%, with prices up 4.5% since the bottom of last year. So there you go. That's kind of the data that we're seeing. And keep in mind that sometimes 6 weeks late, because this is all coming from RP data, 4.5% back from the bottom.
So it all started back in January when when you look at property, all property prices get reported from Land Titles Office. The information, Land Titles Office doesn't do a lot with the information. They flick that information over to RP Data. RP Data are the experts in property in data. They turned around and reported that we had negative, like it was negative 20% for the whole of 2022, for good reasons. But then in January and February, they came along in Feb and said, this is the first time we've seen a plus something percentage for the month. And they showed the graph and I was like, that's weird, because I don't feel that that's happening in the marketplace. Then every single month since February reported in New South Wales positive growth. It's just going against all odds, Billy Bob, the old man, the young man's body.
So the final sentence to this is prices were now 3% below their peak recorded in February 2022 because of a current shortage of stock. So there you go. That's kind of the overall synopsis of what we're feeling. But I think this is the tile that puts it into perspective for a lot of other people, because sometimes they, respond better to the numbers.
Talk to me, Billy. Talk to me.
Where do we start? From the top down. So this is the Sydney on the market. This week's numbers from the weekend. Average days on market. That's always exciting.
Look, for people who don't know, I reckon the days on market is a better metric than auction rates. Everyone likes to look at auction clearance rates, 60%, 70%, 72%, 81%, whatever it may be. But the actual how long these puppies are sitting on the market is really, really critical. I think that measures people's sentiment a little bit more. So, normally in a hot market, they're sitting on the market for probably 12 to 18 days in a super hot market. So we're not a hot market. We're 42 days out there at the moment. Now, the barbecue conversation, and I don't know why everyone likes it to be sitting around a barbie and having a chat about property, and everyone's, the past is set, but the future is the one that's variable and you don't know what's going to be happening. What's the future going to hold, Billy Bob, for property in the next coming months and years, you reckon?
Well, 2012 new listings, they'll be snapped up and turned into new homes or new investment properties. Look, I think the future is people are waiting to see a bit more stock. It's just not trickling in as quick as people need it to, I don't think, and that's what's supporting these prices. You can see, I think that top price there, $14 million, is just astronomical. There's some big money being traded in the marketplace, and we'll get to those, we'll get more on those sales in just a moment. Clearance rate, 64%. Look, I think when you read those numbers, it's fair to say that's a pretty balanced market. It's not skewed one way or another, actually.
Look, you can probably drive yourself crazy if you read the news, but I think the culmination of all of the information out there comes down to how people feel and the sentiment. And what I'm realizing more and more in the property market, guys, if you are trying to work out what it's doing, is it's necessity based. If you need to buy because your family's growing, or you need to sell because you're retired and the house is just too much for you, or there's death, estates, there's divorce. It's a necessity-based market. So at the end of the day, people are always needing to change their accommodation for personal reasons. And I think at the end of the day, that property market will always, over a 10-year period, it's always going to double. Very hard to believe, but it's been a great property market the last 100 years, and it's going to be a great property market the next 100 years. Full stop.
Well said. What do you reckon interest rates are going to do on Tuesday?
I reckon they're going to give us an uppercut.
Yeah, I hope not, but who knows? Who knows?
Do you know what?
Yeah, interesting.
People are, I think, and someone said it to me the other day as well, that, effectively, like, people have been eating cake during COVID, and money was being handed out by and large, incentives were being handed out by and large, rates were at 2%. Now, we all knew that wasn't normal. We all knew that wasn't sustainable. What's the surprise? So it comes back to the words you use, being a balanced market. It's probably about right with these rates.
Interesting. The last tile one of the last ones I think that's interesting as well is this high-end property market. We've spoken about it on another episode, but it seems to be super buoyant. Really, really pumping at the moment.
It's a bloody corker. Guys, this is a live show. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask us anytime. But, these top sales are strong, hey?
Yeah. So there's a couple put together around that sort of $10-15 million mark, and I don't think there's any sign of that slowing down either. So there you go.
Yeah, look, I think that top property market, if you're trying to work out what your suburb's doing, or what you're going to sell or buy is doing, I think you've got to work out the type of buyer that owns that asset, and what their pockets look like. Because this top end of the market, these guys are long-term thinkers, they're long-term savers, they're long-term planners. They're not really affected by the highs and lows, and they're just doing what they need to do or what they want to do. Particularly, it's a great place to store your wealth because there's no capital gains tax. So your home is a great way of storing wealth. So upgrading your home, you're benefiting with your family, and you're also got a tax-free gain when you ever dispose of the asset. But I think if you're trying to work out these cats and what your market's doing, if you're in a part of Sydney that people are living day to day, they're not particularly long-term thinkers, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, I think those properties will be affected worse. And I think if you're in an area where people are long-term thinkers that own the asset, I think you'll find that those areas sustain a nice level and maybe even growth in the property market.
There you go. Anything else?
Have a great week.
Sorry for being late, everyone. It was an agonizing 3 minutes.
Oh, Billy Bob.
There you go.
And well done to Manly, by the way. What's Daniel said?
Mark, you need a test backdrop for your studio. Love you, mate. Thumbs up.
Yeah, we do, Daniel. And it's part of being in this, where it's amazing the hundreds of things of the new studio that can go wrong. And when it's all new, you definitely cycle through those 100 things. But once you fix them and nail them, they're good for a very long time. So hopefully we'll have that backdrop up tomorrow.
We might be able to bring you a live studio update, as in we'll show the viewers what we've created here.
You know what? Watch tomorrow. That's what we're doing. We're exploring the new studio.
Exploring the new studio. Okay, there you go.
Have a great week,
guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.